For context, my partner, 26-year-old male, and I, 29-year-old female, have been together for 7 years, not married because we met young. When my partner and I first started dating, it was long distance. I really wanted to be with someone who wanted to grow and be independent as much as I did. I was still in university, knew I wanted to pursue my master's, and maybe more in a tricky field that I'm really passionate about. And it was important to me as my parents highly value education and have instilled that in me. I wanted to match with someone who shared and supported my ambition and passion. It's not for everyone, for sure, but I've always known that this is what I wanted for myself and strived to find the same. I expressed this to him often when we started into the talking stages of the relationship. At the time, my partner was working night shift in a warehouse and hated his job. He said I inspired him to go back to school and build something better for himself because he was unhappy with his life. So while I finished my schooling, he worked on starting his, and we both worked full-time and started dating. A big part of our relationship was built during this time virtually through open communication, absolute honesty, calling every day, and spending lots of time online together because of the distance. But it also allowed us to have lots of independence, which I really wanted and loved, as I wanted to establish myself and focus on myself. It was tough, but 3 years ago, he moved countries to be with me, and we moved in together. We have been very happy in starting our careers and lives together. No fights, only one major relationship hiccup, but overall loving and pleasant. He had trouble landing work when he arrived, so I supported us completely financially and emotionally for about a year upon his arrival. He eventually landed a job and works very hard and is good at what he does. In the past few months, I've been laid off, have been diagnosed with a chronic health issue, and my mental health is way down, and he's been amazing. I've relied on him so much, both financially and emotionally, and I felt so blessed to have him by my side. I'm not super close with my family, and they don't live here, nor does his family. It's just us two. Any resentment I felt for the 2 years we stagnated while he moved and resettled himself while I supported us completely evaporated, because he did the same for me when I needed it with no questions asked. And I'm so grateful for that. It's taught me a lot about compromise and what being in a relationship means. I felt so blessed to have someone like that in my life. Last night, after a hard conversation about our relationship, he confessed to me that all his education was a lie. He has no degree, and he made the entire thing up and lied to not only me, but also his family and friends. So none of them have ever covered for him. He admitted he did start community college for a few months, then dropped out because he lost interest in 2016 and never came clean to me because he thought I'd end the relationship. I probably would have at the time, to be honest. Before y'all ask, I wasn't in person with him ever during school because I was pursuing my own education in a different city. I believed him when he said he was doing homework, going to classes. I sent him presents and flowers for his graduation in 2020, which he told me was canceled due to the pandemic, so we couldn't go. My brother graduated the same year and had the same deal, so it didn't raise red flags for me. But maybe that's on me for buying the story. He also claimed he had student loans he was paying off every month, as did I. We kept that section of our finances separate intentionally. I'm horrified he kept this lie up for so long. I believe that 100% honesty is the best policy in my relationship, and I thought we had amazing communication. I was talking to him about getting engaged, buying a place, and starting a family. But knowing that this lie goes all the way back to 2015 to 2016 turns my stomach. He swears it's the only big lie, but I'm devastated and don't know what to do. I feel like me from 2016 would end it immediately. But how do I throw all that away after 7 years? Also, my parents and friends, even his family and friends, all think he's got a fancy degree. How does he come clean now? I feel stupid and duped. My first thought was, well, he could finish it now and nobody will know. But that will put us another 4 years behind in what I want for my life. I'm no longer in that place, and not to mention thousands of dollars in debt while we're already struggling while I look for work again. But also, starting over also terrifies me. I love him and I'm crushed by this reveal. It's making me question every conversation, and I hate that. For those of you who will be like, it's just a piece of paper, it's less about the paper itself and more that the foundation of our relationship was in this uni time, that we were building ourselves a future together. It was all a lie. This man told me his graduation date and accepted graduation flowers from me, knowing he never made it past semester 1. Like, what the frick? Edit 1. Also, for those who asked in other posts, no, his job doesn't require a degree, nor did he tell them he had one, apparently. No, he also didn't lie on his immigration visa. So for my peace of mind, at least no laws were broken or actual fraud committed. It seems he had some self-preservation. These were my first questions, as well as his sponsor. Edit 2. I appreciate all the kind responses. I think on some level I blame myself for being so focused on my degree schooling at the time. You can be a good person, a hard worker, and a great boyfriend and not have a degree. But at that phase in my life, it was really important to me. I'm trying to decide how important it is now. TLDR, been with my partner for 7 years, through a lot together, and just found out that a large portion of the foundation of our relationship, his entire higher education, was a complete lie. I'm heartbroken, but I don't want to throw away so much good we've built over something so silly to lie about. But also, that's a long-standing lie, and my trust right now feels shattered. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Girl, he's a liar. There's no ifs, ands, or buts here. It shows an extreme lack of character. If you stay with him, he would have faced 0 consequences for his lies. Life is going to get even harder, and you will need a partner who you can trust. Untimely, he's shown you that you can't. He'd lied so easily about so many things consistently. That's the problem here. It's kind of scary, actually. It's not like lying to your parents about not drinking or smoking Zaza. He lied about going to and being in school. Think back to all those convos you had, all the things he had to make up. Plus, this would make me question if he really saw this relationship as something long-term, or if he was kind of riding it out and that's why confessing wasn't part of his plan. If you stay with him, you will carry this shame with you, whether you tell your family or not. The shame will be there and IDK how you get past something like when it had nothing to do with you. A lack of character is just that. Being able to mentally justify doing the wrong thing repeatedly makes for a really weak-minded person, and I would not invest my life further with them, especially because you seem much better than that. Maybe you need to walk away, and he needs to face consequences to really grow from this. Don't let the sunk cost fallacy be the reason you stay. Comment 2. I had the same sort of thing happen. An ex lied to everyone that he had a bachelor's degree, when in fact, he only did the first year. He got caught out due to me suggesting positions that required his claimed degree when he was looking for work. He then turned the situation on me, saying that I was going to leave him, judge him for not having a degree. I'd be the villain. And everything had been good up until that point, so I dropped it. It was just diversion, as he didn't want me to dwell on the fact that was dishonest to everyone around him. Much easier to have me worrying that I must be a bad person for judging someone's education status. Long story short, letting him convince me to forgive him is the biggest regret of my life. Had I left then, I would have saved myself years of abuse and misery. I would never trust someone capable of such long-standing and widespread deception. They do it because they think they're not doing anything wrong. They might tell you that they're sorry and it was wrong, but that is to shut you up and ensure that they are the victim in this narrative. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, it's been a week since my partner dropped the news about his fake degree. I wish I could say things have gotten better, but they haven't. I've been trying to wrap my head around it all, but then, as if things couldn't get more complicated, I found out he's been secretly working a second job for months. Not because we needed the money, but to pay off gambling debts he'd racked up. I was floored. Gambling, debts, second job. It was like I didn't even know the man I lived with. I confronted him and he broke down, saying he was ashamed and didn't want to burden me with his problems, especially with my health issues. He promised he'd stopped gambling and the debts were almost cleared. I wanted to be furious, to scream and shout, but instead I found myself feeling sorry for him. He looked so broken, and I remembered all the times he'd been there for me. So I forgave him. Again. But then, my parents called. They'd heard from a friend of a friend about his lack of a degree. The news spread like wildfire, and my parents were humiliated. They've always been proud of their education and mine. And to find out their potential son-in-law had lied about something so fundamental to our values was a slap in the face. They demanded I leave him, but I couldn't. I defended him, told them we'd work through it, that it was a mistake. They were disappointed, to say the least. Work-wise, things took a turn too. I got a job offer, a good one, but it would require moving to a new city. It was the kind of opportunity I couldn't pass up, but it meant leaving him behind, at least temporarily. He encouraged me to take it, said he'd follow as soon as he could, but I hesitated. Could I trust him to join me later? What if there were more secrets? In the midst of all this, his sister reached out to me. She'd heard about the degree and the gambling and wanted to apologize for her brother's behavior. She confided in me that this wasn't the first time he'd lied about something significant. In his teens, he'd caused a car accident and blamed it on a friend, which led to a huge falling out in their social circle. I was stunned. It was like every day I learned something new about him, and none of it was good. Yet here I am, still with him. I took the job, but I didn't move. I'm commuting long hours instead. Everyone says I'm making a mistake, that I should start fresh in the new city, but I can't bring myself to do it. I keep thinking about the good times, the support he's given me, and I convince myself that these lies, these mistakes, they don't define him, or us. I know my friends are talking, saying I'm blind or foolish. Maybe they're right, but I can't shake the feeling that there's something worth saving here. I'm not ready to give up on 7 years over a few bad choices, even if those choices were his to make. It's a mess, but it's my mess, and I'm sticking it out. Thanks for reading. Aita for letting my wife go after discovering her affair only to take her back, following her accident. For context, my wife and I have been married for 2 years after dating for 3 years. It's not been perfect, but we have had a really great relationship throughout. We have always communicated well, and we never really argue or fight that isn't purely playful. Recently, I've noticed our interactions have become one way, and I don't know exactly when it started, but it's becoming more obvious, and I don't know what to do about it. We've always been a very affectionate couple. Lots of hugs, kisses, hand-holding, fall asleep spooning, or even watching TV, she'd throw her legs on my lap. Now it's all one way from her to me. She'll offer to give me back rubs or be affectionate towards me, but won't accept affection in return. She's not mean about it, just politely turns me down or gives some excuse when I offer to rub her back or legs. Then I started noticing the same behavior in other areas. She'll surprise me with a candy bar or something else little, but has asked that I stop buying her flowers or candy because she wants to save money or is on a diet. When she makes dinner, she'll go out of her way to make whatever I want or ask for. But if I offer to make her something, she turns me down. I spend a decent amount of time gaming, but I enjoy taking breaks to check in on whatever she's doing, reading, gaming, etc., because she would say cute things like, "I need a kiss" or something. And I'd also refill her water or get her a snack. Now the answer I get is, "I'm good, thank you." I never really thought much of it because her excuses were reasonable, and she never seemed upset. But I started feeling a little hurt and unneeded. So I asked her if something is going on or if I'd done something to make her upset. But she insisted everything is fine. When I brought up the pattern I'd been noticing, she shrugged it off as coincidence, or that I was reading into things too much. I accepted this until it started happening in the bedroom, and now I'm really worried. My wife has a much higher libido than I do, is very bold and sexually creative and expressive. This has been a massive boon to our relationship because we both have hindrances that prevent us from having normal intercourse. So our typical bedroom session is one of us getting the other off manually, orally, and then vice versa. The last 2 weeks have been typical, except when I try to initiate her side of things, she declines. She's still initiating in the bedroom, and it's not like she won't let me touch her. She just won't let me touch her for her benefit. This is particularly shocking to me because it's not unusual for her to jokingly complain about neglect if it's been more than 2 days since I last got her off. It's been over 2 weeks and she hasn't said anything about it. But she still says she's fine. Nothing is wrong. She isn't mad or upset about anything. Before anyone suggests infidelity, that's not it. We share a password manager. I have access to everything. She has a lot of male friends because our hobbies are nerdy, but refuses to talk to them in any form of private setting because she thinks it would be disrespectful to me and their wives to do so. I never asked her to do that. That's just the kind of person she is. She is overly careful, easily guilted, and would simply never cheat. She's had issues in the past with her body image and sense of self-worth. But when those issues have come up in the past, she was always honest about it, saying things like, "Oh, I'm just hating myself right now." She never insisted she was fine when she wasn't. And everything else in our life right now is pretty normal. I don't know what to do. I feel horrible and guilty because she keeps denying every way I have of expressing my love for her. And I don't want to lose her because she thinks or feels I'm taking her for granted. Has anyone else ever experienced this? Does anyone know why she might be acting this way? Is there some way I can get her to open up about it, or at least acknowledge what's happening? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm going to say probably body issues. If she is not withholding affection, but having a hard time receiving it, it could be self-image issues. I was kind of the same way back when I was fat. I wouldn't really feel up to intimacy or affection because I felt it was weird coming from a fat sack of lard, and that my boyfriend was too cool and handsome for someone like me. Even when I really did want affection, cuddling, etc., I wasn't even extremely heavy or obese, only 15 or 20 pounds over, not even in the red. I had a little poochie if I let my stomach out, just insecure and sad, but hiding it as much as I could. The "I'm just hating myself now" makes me feel that way a bit. Comment 2. I know I moved away from reciprocation when I was feeling insecure about my body, having gained quite a bit of weight. I knew my partner wouldn't reject me, but something about the insecurity kept me from wanting it. I mean, I did want it, but I got in my own way. It honestly didn't bother me to be on the giving side only. I really felt okay about not receiving because I knew I just needed to work through my own stuff. It helped me that my partner kept trying, because it continued to let me know that I was desirable to them, even when I didn't feel it. I tried my best to let them know it really didn't have to do with them, just my 2 cents. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. Last week, things took a turn for the worse. My wife, out of nowhere, announced she wanted to visit her parents for a while. Alone. I was stunned. Her parents live across the country, and she hasn't seen them in over a year. She said she needed some space to think, which felt like a punch in the gut. I couldn't understand what had gone so wrong that she needed to get away from me to clear her head. The day after she left, I found a letter on her pillow. It was from her, explaining that she felt lost, that she didn't know who she was anymore outside of being my wife. She wrote about feeling overshadowed by my personality and interests, even though I always thought we shared them equally. She needed to find herself again, she said. I was floored. All this time, I thought we were on the same page, but she was silently struggling. I spent the next few days in a daze, trying to piece together where I'd missed the signs. Then, the bank called. There were large withdrawals from our joint account, transactions I knew nothing about. I checked and double-checked, but there was no mistake. I felt betrayed. Was she planning to leave me? Was this her exit strategy? I confronted her over the phone. She was calm, too calm. She said it was her money too, and she needed it for her trip and some personal expenses. That's when it hit me. She'd been planning this for a while. All those times she declined my affection. She was distancing herself, preparing for this moment. But then another blow came. I got a call from a mutual friend, someone who had been like a brother to me. He was hesitant at first, but eventually spilled that he'd seen my wife out with someone else a few days before her trip. They looked close, too close for comfort. I didn't want to believe it, but the seed of doubt was planted. I couldn't just sit and stew in my suspicions, so I did something I'm not proud of. I logged into her email through our shared password manager, and there it was, the proof. Emails between her and a guy from her past, someone she'd never mentioned to me. They spoke of rekindled feelings and a future together. My heart sank. All this time, she'd been lying to me, and I was too blind to see it. I was angry, hurt, and felt like a fool. I wanted to confront her again, but what was the point? She'd made her choice, and it wasn't me. I decided to let her go, to give her the freedom she clearly desired. I moved half of our remaining savings to my own account and started the process of untangling our lives. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs. Just when I thought I'd started to accept the situation, I got another call. My wife had been in an accident. Nothing life-threatening, but she was in the hospital. I rushed there, my mind a mess of emotions. Seeing her in that hospital bed, vulnerable and in pain, something inside me shifted. I couldn't abandon her. Not like this. I stayed by her side, and as she recovered, we started talking. Really talking. She confessed everything, the affair, the money, her feelings of being lost. She was remorseful, ashamed. And I realized, despite everything, I still loved her. We agreed to start over, to try and rebuild what we'd lost. But even as we made these promises, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She was too eager to fix things, too quick to sweep the affair under the rug. And then, the final twist. I found out the accident wasn't an accident at all. She'd been with him when it happened. He was driving, they were arguing, and he lost control of the car. I was being played. She was using the accident, her vulnerability, to manipulate me into forgiveness, into a second chance. And I was falling for it, because I wanted to believe in the woman I loved. But deep down, I knew. I was just a safety net, a backup plan. Thanks for reading. Aita for staying with my husband after he went on a date without telling me. Sorry this is going to be long, but has some necessary context. My 28-year-old female husband, 29-year-old male, and I got married in March this year after having been together since we were 16 years old. We were high school sweethearts, and the relationship blossomed into a beautiful relationship where we respected and learned from each other and were very open about our feelings and communication. We don't have kids, but bought a house together. We were each other's firsts for a lot of things. It was as close to perfect as I could imagine. At the start of 2024, after an accident where I nearly died, I am all good now. He developed quite debilitating anxiety and panic disorder, to the point where he was barely functional. He has been seeing a psychologist, which has helped. Through this entire period, I have been his pillar, his support person, prioritizing him above all else, including my own mental health. It was really hard, but he is in a much, much better place now, thankfully. Literally a couple of weeks after we got married, he brought up some feelings of regret, of not having had the opportunity to date other people, and that he wished we met later in life, so he could have crossed off the dating box. I put aside my own feelings and tried to understand his perspective, but could not. I asked him if he would break up to date other people, and he immediately said no. Over the next couple of weeks, I found myself thinking really insecure thoughts. We'd moved to a new city, Bangkok, and he expressed a desire to meet fellow expats, and downloaded Bumble for friends. He got chatting, met an expat male, and said that meeting new people through Bumble seems to satisfy his dating desire, because it was fun learning new things about total strangers. He also went out for dinner with a female, and did not ask if I was okay with it. When I asked him what he wanted, to stay in this relationship or to date others, he said he didn't know. Over the next 2 weeks and more emotionally charged conversations, saying he loves me more than anything, and he wants the relationship, but is unsure why his regret for dating is so strong. I don't believe his words anymore. I asked him to do some soul searching and understand what he really wants, but he has put this off for a week now. I feel like I'm clearly not priority, and frankly feel like I am in the way of his happiness. And I would rather be alone than feel like I am being an obstacle to what he thinks will make his life fulfilling. Am I overreacting and feeling this way? Do many people in committed relationships feel like this? Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this many comments. Just to clarify, he did tell me about the dinner with the female, but only 2 days beforehand, and never asked if I was okay with it. I'll post an update in the comments. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The correlation with moving to Bangkok might be important here. Male expatriates in Southeast Asia often receive a lot more intimacy attention than they are used to at home, and from women who they find more attractive than average. If that's the real root of this issue, he suddenly has more options. Then you know that he simply doesn't value you the way a husband should. Regardless, he's messing with your feelings by leaving you in limbo. Please do not hang around begging him to choose you. Make the choice for him. If he wants to act single, you're moving out, and the marriage is over. Comment 2. He went on a date with another woman and did not ask if you were okay with it. That would be it for me. I have been married to my only boyfriend for 28 years. We have both wondered what dating others would be like, and then realized how lucky we are to have found each other and never had to suffer heartbreak. If your husband can't decide, you need to decide for him because you deserve to be treated better and with respect. His behavior at the moment is disrespectful, dangerous, and damaging to your relationship. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around after my last post. So, things have escalated since then. Just when I thought we were on the same page, my husband decided to throw a curveball. He joined a local expat group, and I found out he'd been messaging one of the women from the group behind my back. He said it was nothing, just friendly banter, but come on, we all know that's not how it starts. I was fuming, but I kept it together. I had to know more before I confronted him. Then, last Tuesday, I came home early from work. I walked in on him video chatting with her. They were laughing, and he was more animated than I'd seen him in months. The look on his face when he saw me, guilt written all over it. He tried to play it off, but I wasn't buying it. We had a huge fight, and he admitted he enjoyed the attention. Said it made him feel alive. That stung. I thought we were done for, but life had another twist in store. The next day, his new friend's husband barged into our house, accusing them of having an affair. It was a mess. Accusations flew, and in the heat of the moment, my husband broke down. He confessed that he'd been struggling with the idea of being with only one person his whole life, but he swore nothing physical had happened. I was torn. Part of me wanted to believe him, but the other part was just so tired of the drama. I needed a breather, so I stayed with a friend for a few days. While I was gone, my husband did some serious soul searching. He went to a psychologist, talked to friends, and even reached out to his family for advice. When I came back, he was different. He deleted Bumble, left the expat group, and had written me a letter. It was full of apologies, promises, and realizations about what he truly wanted. He said he realized that his desire to connect with others was just a way to escape dealing with his anxiety and our new life in Bangkok. I was skeptical, but then his psychologist called me. She confirmed that they'd had some intense sessions and that he was committed to working on our marriage. That was a turning point for me. It showed he was willing to put in the work, and it wasn't just empty words this time. We started going to couples therapy, and it's been tough, but good. We're learning to communicate better and to understand each other's needs. It's not perfect, but it's progress. And then, as if we hadn't had enough drama, his work announced they were downsizing. He was at risk of losing his job. It was like a bad joke. But this time, we faced it together. We talked about our finances, our options, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like we were a team again. In the end, he kept his job, but the scare brought us closer. It made us realize that we had to fight for what we wanted, and we wanted to be together. So here we are, 2 weeks later, still standing. It's been pretty tough, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I know we've got a long road ahead, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like we're heading in the right direction. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.